So far we have discussed database process, like why we do require this sort of databases, what are the advantages, and then there are 3 steps to make database. Like first step is conceptual modeling, in which you only have to design your requirements in one diagram known as ERD, right? In which we have entities, we have their attributes, and then entities would have relationships with other entities. That's why they are related, that's why they are making some mini world. Okay, so every entity should have some relationship with at least one other entity, so that all the entities could be connected in a database. And in the second phase, we would be like logical modeling. We only have to define our tables or tuples, right, or relation in more general. So tables and relations are the same thing, relational modeling, in which we have to define what would be the attributes, their data types, string, integer, or numbers. And then in the third step, we would be physically implementing that database by using DBMS. And DBMS talk in which language? We can communicate with DBMS by using which language? SQL, good. Yeah, structured query language. So we can create tables, we can insert values in tables, and even we can select our data, and we can update our data with the help of SQL. Okay. So conceptual modeling is just visualization of your business needs. For example, if you are making some hotel management system, right? Suppose I'm working in some hotel and I want some sort of management information system or business information system. I want to record like all the bookings, right, of rooms, their payments. So by this way, it means that I would have some entities, customer entity, staff entity would be there, room entity would be there, right? And then obviously every entity would have some relationship with each other. So this is just, we can show this by visualize these requirements by using ERD. So this is ERD, right, in which we have employee and department. In this case, we only have 2 entities, employee and department. And then we talked about attributes. We can like if there is a static with first name, last name, and hire date. What does it mean? Static. If we are putting some static in front of some attribute name. Sorry? Mandatory. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It means that the implementation, when the person would be implementing this database, and especially graphical user interface, it will be creating some form. It means that you have to enter your first name. Okay. It's a mandatory field. Same is the case with last name, hire date. But job and salary attributes are optional attributes. Okay. It means that although they are important and might be someone can add data later on, but it's not compulsory that whenever you are creating a new entity of employee, you should add job field and salary. Okay. Might be salary would be decided later on, but you can add, right? And similarly, we talked about unique identifiers. For one tuple, one row, you have to identify it uniquely. For this purpose, you need some sort of UIDs, unique identifiers, or in database terminology, we also call it as a primary key. So primary key can easily identify which student is taking which course at what time, right? So who is taking, right? So we can represent our UIDs, unique identifiers, by using hash symbol. So it could be one or more. It could be a combination of 2 things, 2 or 3 attributes, right? So, but in this case, for employee and department entities, we only have one UID each, number, and for department attribute name is also number. So attributes name could be same for different entities, okay, no issue. Like here employee also have one number attribute and department also has one attribute named as number. So same name is for attribute name is okay, because we know that when we would be calling from the database that I need number attribute from the department table, so there wouldn't be any confusion for DBMS, okay, because in SQL you have to select, first of all you have to tell DBMS from which table you are talking, you want to extract data. So if you are mentioning that in SQL that you want data from department table, then it would definitely easily extract number attribute from that table. So it's compulsory, you have to mention table name in the SQL, okay. Then we talked about optionality in a relationship, optional, okay, and mandatory thing. So relationship between two entities could be optional or it couldn't be optional. It would be mandatory. And we talked about different examples. A good example about optionality thing is that employee may have dependents, right? We talked about this thing in the last class as well. Optionality, may have. Right? So this optionality, in optionality we are talking about this thing that this entity may have this sort of a relationship with the another entity, but there are some cases in which your relationships would be mandatory, must be, okay. So you would say this entity must be student, must be enrolled in some course, right? So it depends on the business logic, it depends on the business rules. It will define, business rules will define that the relationship is optional or not optional, okay. So relationships are either mandatory or optional. Consider the two entities, employee and job, based on what you know about instances of the entities. And we talked about instances, right? Who will tell what is an instance of the entity? Instance. When we are talking about student entity, Jacob or James, right, John would be the instances of the student entity, okay. So one instance. So based on what you know about instances of the entities, you can determine optionality by answering two questions. Must every employee have a job? In other words, in this, is this a mandatory or optional relationship for an employee? Must every job be assigned to an employee? Okay. So in other words, is this a mandatory or optional relationship for a job? Then we talked about cardinality. So in relationships, we have 6 things because they are bidirectional, right? So first two are very easy one, you have to name relations. So then 2 optionality for entity 1 and entity 2, and then 2 cardinalities, okay? Cardinality measures the quantity of something. In a relationship, it determines the degree to which one entity is related to another by answering the question how many, okay. So for example, how many jobs can one employee hold? Usually in one organization, employee can hold only one job, right? So but one job can be given to many employees, just like assistant professors or lecturers or professors. NUIG would have many professors. So if I have 2 entities, let's say professor, and the second entity is job or job title, some sort of thing in which I have designation sort of thing, right? Then obviously people would have, each employee would have one job, but that job could be assigned to many professors, many employees, right? So if it's only one, then we talked about this thing that we can mention only one, but if it's 2 or 3 or 4, we only say many, 2 is many, 1000 is many. Okay, it doesn't matter count. We are not counting exact, we are not giving exact count, but we are restricting that for one only. Okay. So we have some examples in these slides, so it would be more clear. Each employee must hold one and only one job. So here must means it's mandatory, right? It's not an optionality thing. Each job may be held by one or more employees, maybe. Okay, might be like higher ups or management has just approved a new job, but there is a no person who is hired or something, right? So that's why maybe. Each product must be classified by one and only one product type, but each product type may classify one or more products. So similarly, we talked about recursive relationships. Like if I'm working in a bank, obviously my manager is also an employee, but the job responsibilities of that manager is to manage other people, right? To manage other people. So it's some sort of recursive relationship of an employee as a manager with an other employee or number of employees. It's recursive. Okay. So employees, so we can see each employee may be managed by one and only one employee, right? And each employee may manage one or more employees. So relationships are lines that connect entities. These lines are either solid or dashed. Solid line will show mandatory thing, right? Must be relationship. Or if it's dashed, it means that it's maybe thing. And for cardinality thing, we use crow's foot for many, right? And if there is no crow's foot, it's single toe, then obviously it's a one-to-one relationship. So in this diagram, we have three entities: employee, department, job. And then employee's relationship with department is mandatory. This hard line means mandatory. Okay, it means that each employee must work in some department. It is not possible that you can add some employee without assigning him or her any department. Okay, this ERD shows. If your business rules in your company says this is okay, then obviously that's fine. But business rules of any company would define this thing. Okay, and here is a single toe, or as such there is no crow's foot. It means that each employee must work in one and only one department. Okay, and each department may be, because this is dashed line, each department may be responsible for one or many employees. Okay, so this crow's foot means, so obviously it will take time for you people to draw this sort of thing, but over the weekend I asked to draw something. How many people tried to make some ERD? Be honest. Raise your hands. Okay, 2, 3, not bad, 4. Okay, not bad. So do try very small ERDs of some businesses, some sports event sort of thing, or movies, or even ticketing sort of thing, like if you want to book some tickets, right? So you have to think that what would be the entities, what would be the relationships with each entities. So here same is the case with employee and job. So each employee must, this hard line, right, is must, solid line, must assign to one and only one job. But each job may be assigned to one or more employees. Obviously, in real life, we discussed this thing that if professor is an employee, there would be so many professors with same job title, right? So, but that professor would have only one job at NUIG or anywhere. but that job designation or job ID would have many employees. Since each relationship has two sides, we read the first relationship from left to right or top to bottom depending on the ERD layout. So basically left to right or top to bottom, okay? So, and there is no compulsion that you have to where to draw this entity. It could be here, it could be anywhere, okay? But obviously relationships would tell. So business rules would define relationships. So we have one business rule: each employee must work in one and only one department. So this was the business rule, right, which was documented somewhere, and from this business rule you have to make ERD. So there is another, so we can say that each entity A optionality must be basically work in is a relationship name. One and only one is cardinality thing. It could be one and only one or one or more, okay? And then entity B. So each employee, which is entity A, must work in one and only one department. So this is employee. So for must, we will add solid line. Work in is the name of this relationship. So we will write here work in. Another entity is department. So we will draw another entity department. And for this one thing, single toe, it would be just connected, okay? And obviously I'm not connecting this thing because when I have to add department relationship with the employee, I would, here it could be solid, it could be optional, right? But from left to right, this would be there. So for same is the case for department. Each department maybe, for maybe we use this dashed line or dotted line, responsible for one or more employee. So this one or more means many, okay? Many means one or more. So that crow's foot is here. So when I join this thing, then I will get the same thing that we were seeing, right? Any question? Okay. Another concept about relationships is transferability. You have to mention that that transfer could be, that relationship could be transferable or non-transferable, okay? For example, if there is a policy, if someone has added to some group, he or she cannot change his group, okay? So it means that the relationship between student and that study group is non-transferable. For example, if you have take admission at NUIG in some particular degree, it's a policy of NUIG that you cannot change your degree, okay? It means that the relationship between you and the degree entity is non-transferable. Usually your ID card is non-transferable, right? Your PPS number is non-transferable. Similarly, if you bought some bus ticket or some bus card, it is non-transferable, right? So this sort of relationship, you can mention this thing in your ERD, and it's very, very simple to mention that thing, that the relationships are non-transferable. So here, like, might be employee cannot be transferred to some other department, right? Let's suppose someone is employed in military. So might be the rule of military is that you cannot shift to another department, even if it's within military, okay? So, okay. Same is the case with like student may join study group, but if it's joined, then obviously it cannot be transferable. So there is a relationship between student and study group that is transferable. But so if you put simple small diamond on top of your relationship, it will show that this relationship is non-transferable. Okay, but in real life, most of the relationships are transferable in business scenarios, but there is a need for few relationships in which you have to mention that these two relationships between, and this relationship between two entities could not be transferable. Okay, so here if one fee challan or receipt is issued to some particular student, then it is non-transferable. You cannot change student entity. Okay, so if your business rule says this thing, then you only have to put this small diamond on the relationship. It will show that this relationship is non-transferable. I have a few other examples. For example, if some poem is written by some author, obviously it's non-transferable. You cannot change his like author name, right? So we have different types of relationships. We talked about this thing, one-to-many relationships. Like one-to-many relationships could be by this, right? One-to-many. One-to-many, same is the case, one-to-many, but this thing is optionality thing, right? So employee and one-to-many. Like department is one, and then each department may be responsible for many employees. There could be many other type of relationships known as many-to-many relationships, like this. Each student may learn from many teachers, right? Just like you, because you are taking many courses, so you are learning from different teachers, many teachers, one or more. Many means one or more, okay? So when we have two, it means that many, okay? But two doesn't mean that one couldn't be happen, one is still there. So we can say that one and only one, and for crow's foot means one or many, okay? So similarly, each teacher may educate one or many students. So by this way, in this example, these two entities have relationships many to many. Okay, in the previous slide we saw one example, one to many or many to one is the same case, but in this case this is many to many. Another type is one-to-one relationship. So might be you have some like we talked about one-to-one relationship, country and city, country and capital. So each country must have one and only one capital, right? And each country, each capital must belong to one and only one country. So this sort of relationship between country and capital entities are one-to-one. There are some other examples, just like here, each person may acting as a teacher, right? Or as a student, or obviously this teacher is relationship with person is also one and only one. Can you give any other example of one-to-one relationship? One-to-one relationship in any. So usually one-to-many are very common type of relationship, right? But there are some one-to-one relationship as well. For example, any example? No? One-to-one? Person and job?
Isn't like teacher and student or person to job, a certain job?
Okay. Might be in some businesses or in some companies there are only one job for each person. Might be like they have some sort of hierarchies of different jobs, like 10 jobs, 10 people. It means that each job have relationship with the person or employee one to one. Okay, it means other example could be, for example, parking slot, like not at NUIG, might be there is some place near your apartment, around your apartment, where one parking slot would be assigned to one house. Okay, so it means that the relationship between parking slot and house is one to one, right? Like we are assuming only one parking is allowed for one house. So it means that this parking is only allocated to one person, and one person in the residence or house can only hold one parking slot. Okay, so this is one to one. Some other examples could be exam and answer key. Obviously, if we have one exam, it would have one answer key, right? And same is the case with recipe or dish. So there are some relationships which could be redundant, but you can see like town is located in some country, and person, if someone is living in some town, we can easily find out the country of someone person, right? So we don't need some direct relationship with country as well. So this sort of relationship is redundant. If we can extract information by using these relationships, then this relationship is redundant. Okay, so usually in databases we want to avoid or remove that direct relationships or this sort of redundant relationships. But all relationships are not redundant. It depends. For example, in this case, might be this person is living in this town, but his birthplace could be different. Okay, so in this scenario where the relationship title is born in, we do require country relationship with some country. Okay, so but in this case we were talking about where he or she is living, so that's why this relationship is redundant in this case. But this relationship is not redundant, right? So we can remove redundant relationships if we think these relationships are repetitive, and we can extract information by using some other relationships indirectly. Okay. Any questions? So far we have discussed different types of relationships: one to many, many to many, one to one. Okay, and most of the relationships that exist in business information systems are one to many, and there are few one to one, but sometimes there are relationships many to many. But this many to many relationships have some issues, so we will discuss this sort of thing, that how we can resolve many to many relationships. So relationship hiding an attribute. In a school, a student may study one or more subjects, right? We discussed this thing that one subject can be enrolled in one subject, many students can enroll, and obviously students can enroll in many subjects, right? So this sort of relationship is many to many. Just like you people, you are taking 5-6 courses in this semester, and obviously in each course we have 50-60 students. It means that this database technology and other courses have a relationship with students many to many. So each subject may be studied by one or more students. So that's why we have two entities and they have relationships many to many. Any issue with this ERD? Who will tell? There is a hint about it. Issue is that this relationship is hiding an attribute. Can you think which sort of attributes are missing if you want to make some ERD for this course management system. Like we have student, we are storing ID, first name, last name, and then subject ID name, right?
The
Teacher. Okay, so instructor, or yeah, that could be another. Definitely we do require an entity, right? But let's assume we are not storing teachers information, we are only yeah, so we are only considering student entity and subject entity. Like if someone or some client wants to make some system just like this, so what other attributes are missing? Suppose they want a system in which you have to develop and in which they want to store student information and subjects information they are taking, their grades, when they are taking that course. Exams? Yeah. Results, good, good. So here we are not storing, right? Like, okay, we are storing this thing that this student is taking which subject, but what is the grade of that student? And obviously we don't have any information about it was offered in semester 1 of 2021 or semester 2, right? So it means that many to many attributes are hiding some attributes. So that's why we want to resolve this many to many relationship, because there are so many hidden attributes because of this many to many thing. We have to resolve this thing, okay? Because we want to store all the information that is related to student and subject, right? At least even if we are not talking about grades, but still we do require when this course or when this subject was offered, okay? So relationship hiding an attribute. When a student enrolls for a subject, we want to be able to record the grade they attain for that subject. Which entity would the attribute grade belong to? Student? Okay, so one option is that we can add one attribute as a grade in student entity, right? So it means that, okay. So what if student, like if he or she is enrolled in 5 courses, but student information like first name, last name would be coming one time, but how we can store 5 grades in one attribute? Remember I told you that each attribute should be single value. Okay, in databases it is not possible, or it's not a good practice to store multiple values in one attribute. Like if you are talking about grade, it means that you are storing all the grades that student is getting in each subject, right? But if we store that grade thing in subject, then obviously it's also not possible. It means that in database technology class, I would have to store 60 grades in one attribute of all students somehow, right? So any other solution? Create an entity. Okay. Okay.
And the students, we're missing time there.
Yeah.
Year.
Yeah. 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 So because only we are not only interested in student and subject itself, we are also interested in some sort of other things like grades, like which semester 1, semester 2 year, right? Some other information. So if we put grade in the student entity, how would we know which subject it is? Obviously, if we are just putting A grade in student entity, we cannot know that A is for database technologies or for networks course or some other course, right? If we put grade in the subject entity, how would we know which student got that grade? Okay. So we have to resolve many-to-many relationships. It means that a third entity is needed. To resolve the many-to-many relationship, this is called an intersection entity. So we will create another entity named as enrollment, right? And it would contain one attribute grade. Other attributes could be semester information. Other attributes could be year or degree or something, right? If it's not mentioned in here, but I think degree could be mentioned in subject here, okay? So we are creating another entity, intersection entity, and an intersection entity enrollment has been added, including the grade attribute. So the original many-to-many relationship has become two one-to-many relationships. So from here one and here many. Same is the case from here, subject one and many enrollments. Now we can tackle this issue, right? We can resolve this issue. The original M2M relationship has become two one-to-many relationships. Then obviously what would be the unique identifier, UID, of the intersection entity? So primary keys or UIDs of these two entities would be added here too, okay? So we can just add one barred line, one small line. This line will show that the UIDs of this entity would be part of this entity as well, okay? Same is the case for this bar, that this UID would be part of this UID as well, or attribute as well, okay? So I can repeat again. So the problem with many-to-many relationship is that we cannot store different important attributes. Like if we have two entities, entity A and entity B, just like student and grades, student and subjects, obviously we have to store their grades and their enrollment, other semester or something, right? So for this purpose, we have to create another entity. And remember that entity would become a separate table or separate relation in the database. So each database would have many tables and each table would have some attributes, right? So here we are making another entity, which means that it would become a separate table in DBMS later on. So in this table, that many-to-many relationships would be splitted as very easily every time you only, like if, for example, in an exam or in assignment, if I give you many-to-many relationship entities, two entities, and you have to split it into intersection entities, okay, then it's very easy. You have to create a third entity, and that for third entity, relationships would always be one-to-many, right? That many would be towards the intersection entity, okay? And then in the third entity, you can add all the attributes that are needed, in this case grade, and we can put simple bar here, which means that UIDs of this entity would be part of this entity as an attribute as well, okay? So there is another example. So we have one TV show, right? Not one TV show, we have one entity TV show, and obviously it would be like many person can see, right? But obviously one person would be can watch many TV shows. So it means that relationship is many to many, right? But we have to resolve this many to many thing, and for this resolution of thing we can simply add another entity and we call it as viewing record, right? And then from each entity relationship would be one to many, same is the case one to many, and then we are putting bar here, right, and writing for which is showing intersection entity, and this bar will means that this UID of this TV show would be part of this viewing record. Okay. Is it clear or no? Like, what is many to many relationship? Why do we want to resolve many to many relationship? For example, order and product, right? So person can buy different products, obviously, right? Or product type. So relationships, there are so many things in which we have relationship many to many, but we have to resolve this many to many relationship into one to many relationship, and because otherwise we cannot store related attributes. So we can take a break. So in the previous lecture, we were talking about this resolution of many-to-many relationship, right? So here we have another example in which we have cleaning company, which would be providing some services to some sort of cleaning services. Obviously, that cleaning services would be many, right? Like at NUIG, you can see there would be many cleaning services, right? But obviously that cleaning services could be provided by many cleaning companies, right? Might be there is one cleaning company which is providing cleaning services of your washrooms, right? Or playgrounds or something, right? Similarly, there are many cleaning companies which could be providing only services regarding to the roads or open areas, okay? So we have to convert this many-to-many relationship, we have to resolve it. So can you try on your notebook how you would resolve this many-to-many relationship? And for students who just came, you can use 3530 for attendance check-in. And we have to resolve this M to M relationship. So basically we are storing this information, some sort of a scheduling, that which company provided which service date wise or time wise, right? So it's some sort of cleaning schedule that we are going to build, some cleaning schedule system. So we have to resolve this many-to-many relationship. So who will tell how many from two entities? So in the next phase, how many entities would we have? How many? From two entities, we will make another entity, right? Intersection entity. Okay. So from two, so for example, if I can write. Okay. So I have one entity, this is cleaning company, same entity as the above, right? I'm not writing all. So this is cleaning company and other entity is cleaning service, same two entities. Okay, cleaning service, capital, all capital. Okay, so I have to make a third entity which could be let's say cleaning schedule. Okay, here, so this is, let's say, cleaning schedule. Here I have relationship is optional, right? And here it's also optional. So the relationship with this entity would also be optional. Same is the case with here. Okay. But the relationship from this intersection entity would always be mandatory. So it would be a solid line. It would be straight, obviously. Okay, solid line. And for many-to-many, we are creating two relationships, one-to-many. So one this side and always, okay, I can write, but this is one to many, and I will add a bar, which means that unique identifiers of cleaning company and unique identifier of cleaning service would be part of this entity as well. Okay, so I can name, it's always for, and I can say, okay. So by this way I can easily resolve many-to-many relationship into multiple one-to-many relationships. Okay, now 3 entities, and the third entity and relationship would always be, for the new entity, relationship would always be must. Okay, because obviously without cleaning schedule, like we don't have any cleaning schedule if it does not connect with some cleaning company. Same is the case, this cleaning schedule is totally dependent on cleaning service, which service they are providing. Okay, but because this relationship was that each cleaning company may provide, so this may will go here. Okay, if it's must, then it should be must. Okay, but obviously in our case it is optional, that's why this relationship is optional, and one-to-many. Okay, we have its solution, so let me remove this thing. Okay, so you can see same solution is here. So we have now resolved many-to-many into 3 entities, and relationships would be one-to-many. Okay, any question? Is it difficult to resolve many-to-many relationships? Okay. So, okay, one of the students sent one ERD last week, so might be we can discuss this thing. Can you see, right? So we have player entity, club entity, manager entity, and coach entities. So in this diagram, we have 4 entities, and obviously they would have some attributes. We can mention their mandatory attributes, that the first name, last name, or position, salary, and even date of birth of a particular player is mandatory for this database. Okay, for some other database, might be you can say that date of birth is not mandatory, but for this business rule, for this business, they do require date of birth. Might be they have some club for under 17 players, so this date of birth will determine that this person is eligible to play in this club or not. Okay, so it depends, but for obviously for international game or player, they usually don't require or consider date of birth as a compulsory thing. Okay, similarly interest and other stuff is optional, and then we have manager ID. So you can see for each entity we have to define we always have to define its unique ID. Easiest way is player underscore ID or manager ID, and that ID could be auto generated 1 2 3 4 in a sequence, auto increment sort of thing, right? But in your case, when you are a student of NUIG, that ID is not auto generated. It's not 1 2 3 4 5 in some sequence, but it has some roll number, and might be this roll number can signify, okay, if someone has roll number 19 starting with 19, does it mean that he or she enrolled in 2019 to this university or no? What's your roll number? Right?
Yeah, it means they applied to the senior role in that year.
Yeah. So in some universities, might be your roll number would be your graduating year 2209, or might be if you are enrolling in 2018, your roll number would be 2201, and that even 01 could signify 01 relates to engineering student, 02 relates to some other department, okay? So, but usually your ID could be any that can distinguish one instance from other instance, okay? So here we have player, club, manager. Manager has one ID, and then coach. And you can see player has some relationship with club, and each player must belongs to, okay? This solid line means must belongs to one and only one club, okay? So here you cannot join, obviously, one player cannot join multiple clubs at a time, okay? And similarly, club will must employ one and only one manager, right? And then we have a coach, and obviously club. Here manager and coach, okay, in the next part of this lecture we will see sometimes we have entities which are some sort of subtype, supertype sort of thing, right? Do you know what is a subtype and supertype? Subtypes, supertypes. No? Okay. For example, in employee category, professor is a subtype of employee, some sort of thing, subtypes, okay? Or in students, even we can, undergraduate student is a subtype of a student class. So student is a bigger class, bigger set, and subsets we can call it as subtypes of that particular entity, okay? In the next few slides we will see this thing, subtypes, supertypes. Same is the case because this manager and coach are both types of employees for a particular club, right? So we can visualize these two different types, subtypes, separately as entities as well, but we have another notation or diagram. We can visualize, we can merge these two entities as a one entity, and we will see in the next slides. Matrix diagrams. It is useful to know more than one way to discover relationships. Obviously, when we have very few entities, we can easily find out which entity would have relationship with other entity. But consider if you are making very complex information system, business information system, in which you have, let's say, 50 entities, right? Then it's very difficult to just remember and write all the stuff, right? So for this purpose, we have one thing known as matrix diagrams. So using a matrix diagram, especially when you are dealing with many entities, it is a good way to make sure that you haven't missed any relationships. So for example, for these three entities, teacher, course, class, it's very easy to find out what is the relationship of teacher entity with the class entity, right? You can easily draw that thing. But for example, in your business information system, you have so many entities here, just like this. Then it's quite difficult to remember or draw. Might be you can miss some relationships with some entities, right? So for this purpose, you can simply draw a matrix diagram, which is very easy to draw. You only have to write all entities in this column and then row wise, and then you can simply see, okay, this traveler entity has some relationship with country or no. This traveler entity has some relationship with landmark or no. Okay, you can just write names. Might be there are some boxes that would be empty. There wouldn't be any relationship between two entities. So it could be possible. So for this, we can write name of these entities like traveler, visit country, or traveler have seen landmark. Similarly, country is visited by a traveler, or the country is the location of some landmark, okay? And similarly, landmark can be seen by a traveler, or landmark is located in some country, So by this way, here all entities have relationships with all other entities, but in real scenarios, some boxes would be empty. You can cross it that there is no relationship between these two entities. Okay. So by this way, obviously you wouldn't miss any relationship. So if you have 10 entities, your matrix diagram would be 10 by 10 matrix, and then you can simply write which relationship you want to implement in this system, and you can leave empty or blank if there is no relationship between two entities. So from this, we can simply make an ERD by this way. Like we have 3 entities: traveler, country, landmark. Okay, and so traveler have seen, and by this way we can simply optionality and cardinality thing. Again, we have so many to many relationships. It means that we have to resolve this thing later on. Okay. So any question about matrix diagrams? This diagram is only for considering or taking care of all relationships that could exist between all entities. If we have few entities, 3-4 entities, then obviously it wouldn't be difficult. But in real systems, in real business information systems or database systems, we would have hundreds of entities, 50 or 60 entities. Did I tell you that the ERD of Amazon company comes on how many pages? ERD, now you know that what is an ERD, right? So Amazon's ERD is on more than 200 pages. More than 200 pages. Only ERD. I'm not talking about their database size or the entity diagram. This sort of entity diagram. So you can see how much complex system, right? Like their ERD size is on 200 pages. If they print ERD of Amazon, it will come on more than 200 pages. So you can see how many tables and how many attributes they are storing. Obviously, because they are taking care of thousands of products, their categories, vendors, customers, their payment information, right? Their shipping information. So complex system. So we will discuss this purpose of supertypes and subtypes. Supertypes and subtypes occur frequently in the real world. For example, food order types could be dine-in, takeaway, or online orders, right? So might be we can make 3 entities for each type of food order, right? But this dine-in, takeaway, and online order, these are the subtypes of a supertype food order. Okay. Grocery bag types, it could be plastic, paper, right? Payment types, it could be via check or cash or credit. So these are the different types of payment. So now we have option, either we can create each entity for each type, or we can make some sort of supertypes representation. Okay. So often some instances of an entity have attributes and or relationships that other instances do not have. Okay. For example, if I'm taking cash payment, would that cash payment have some relationship with customer's bank? If I am taking cash payment of some order, do I need customer's bank information? No, obviously no, right? But if that payment by the customer is through some credit card or debit card, then obviously I require bank information of customer, right? So this line is about that thing, that often some instances of an entity have attributes and or relationships that other instances do not have, right? For example, like if that credit card payment, obviously I would be taking information of credit card number, PIN number, expiry date, and some other information. But for cash, I'm not taking that type of information, PIN number or expiry date or valid up to, right? So similarly, this cash payment has no relationship with customer's bank. So no relationship and less attributes. So in many cases this could occur, right? Imagine a business which needs to track payments from customers. Customers can pay by cash, check, or by credit card. So we can represent this supertype entity of payment as embedding 3 sub-entities. So we have payment supertype, which would have 3 subtypes: cash, check, and credit card. So in our ERD, instead of writing so many related or similar entities, 3-4 entities, we can merge these similar entities in one supertype entity, if obviously they belong to the same thing, right? So all payments have some common attributes: payment date, payment amount, but only credit cards would have a card number attribute. And for credit card and check payments, we may need to know which customer made the payment, while this is not needed for cash payments. Even for cash payment, I usually don't require to store name of the customer. Okay, I will just take cash and add it. So it means that there are some attributes which are not part of some other subtypes. Okay, should we create a single payment entity or 3 separate entities: cash, check, and credit card? And what happens if in the future we introduce a 4th method of payment? For example, Bitcoins, right? Or some other type of payment, some barter system or something. Okay, so it means that you have to add another entity if you are adding 3 entities. Remember, in the first class, we discussed this thing that in ERD we have to consider future needs of the business as well. Okay, that's why you have seen this thing that might be you are selecting something. If that particular thing is not in the combo box, there should be one option of adding others. Like if you are applying in some university and they are providing you some combo box to add your previous university, and the name of the previous university is not in that list, but still they can allow you to add as other option, right, in which you can enter your university name. So subdivide an entity. Sometimes it makes sense to subdivide an entity into subtypes. This may be the case when a group of instances has special properties such as attributes or relationships that exist only for that group. Okay, in this case the entity is called a supertype and each group is called a subtype. So in the previous example, payment is a supertype and card, cash, and check or some, these are the subtypes. So just like animal, we have subtypes: vertebrates or invertebrates, right? So subtype characteristics. A subtype inherits all attributes of the supertype. Okay, if I have written some attributes under animal, so it means that these all attributes are also part of this two subtypes, these two subtypes. Okay, inherits all relationships of the supertype. So if I am drawing some relationship here to some other entity, it means that this relationship would exist for this subtype and this subtype as well. Inheritance, you know inheritance, right? inheritance, in normal inheritance, all the relationships that all the relatives who are relatives are of our mother or father are, we have no choice to say that they are not our relatives, right? Inherited relatives, okay? But obviously, okay, we will see this thing later on. Usually has its own attributes or relationships, is drawn within the supertype. Subtype is, we are talking about subtype now, that usually has its own attributes or relationships, okay, is drawn within the supertype, and obviously it will never exist alone, may have subtypes of its own, okay. Come to the point. So what is the name of supertype here? Exam, right? So this exam supertype has 3 subtypes: midterm, final, and quiz. And here you can see that this relationship is with the supertype exam of student, right? So it means that midterm, final, and quiz would also have relationship with student as well. Inheritance. Supertype, all attributes of the supertype and all attributes of the supertype would definitely be related to other subtypes as well. And these attributes would be part of this midterm as well, final exam, and similarly quiz, okay? But this relationship with bonus question is only related with quiz, subtype relationship. So this relationship is not related with final exam, not with midterm, not with the exam supertype, okay? Just like your friends are not your father or mother friends as well. It's not compulsory or it's not mandatory that your relations should be related with your supertypes, your father or grandfather, right? But it's not vice versa. If someone is a relative of your father, it will be also a relative of you, right? He or she. So any question about subtypes, supertypes? All attributes, all relations of a supertype must be the attributes and relationships of a subtype, but not vice versa, okay? Similarly, here is one attribute, great for oral presentation, right? This attribute is only mandatory for the subtype midterm. It will not a part of exam, it will not part of final, or it wouldn't be part of quiz. This attribute, extra points for optional paper, is only the part of the final subtype, okay? So the same applies to relationships. Subtypes inherit all attributes and relationships of the supertype entity. Any question? Okay, so for subtype and supertype we have some other information we can see. So always more than one subtype. Obviously there is no need if you have one entity supertype and it has only one subtype, then obviously it means that it's only one entity, right? So it must have some more than one subtypes. And subtypes could be exhaustive or mutually exclusive. Exhaustive, every instance of the supertype is also an instance of one of the subtypes. All subtypes are listed without omission, okay? What does it mean? That if someone is coming for payment entity, then it should be exhaustive, that he must be, this type of payment should be adjusted in one of the entity, in one of the subtype. It could be cash, it could be check, it could be credit card, okay? And then we have another information regarding subtypes, mutually exclusive. Each instance of a supertype is an instance of only one possible subtype, right? One payment cannot be part of two subtype payments, okay? So this property is known as mutually exclusive. Like if I have student super entity and it has two subtypes, undergraduate students and graduate students, then one instance would be only part of one subtype, okay? As he or she can only enroll as a postgraduate student or as a undergraduate student, okay? So this is mutually exclusive. So when an ER model is complete, subtypes never stand alone. In other words, if an entity has a subtype, a second subtype must also exist. This makes sense, okay? And okay. So at the conceptual modeling stage, it is good practice to include an other subtype, okay, to make sure that your subtypes are exhaustive. So in the previous case, when we have payment, we have three subtypes: cash, check, and credit card. But we should include another category as other, so that later on, if we have some fourth option, or customer can come and our business rule would be allowing him or her to pay by that way, that other subtype can adjust that person. Otherwise, obviously, you cannot add him as a cash if he is not giving you cash. And if he is not paying through check, you cannot add him as a person or as a customer who is paying through a check, because then you would need a bank name and all other stuff, required information. Same is the case if someone is not paying as a credit card with credit card, you cannot enter him or her a customer who is paying via credit card, because for credit card you would need PIN number or some other security code number other than card number and its validity sort of thing. So that other thing would help you, and so by this way you can make your subtypes, all the subtypes are exhaustive. Exhaustive means it can, like, at least one entity can accommodate one instance, at least one. You are ensuring that, so this is exhaustive, okay? So here wall covering example, paint, wallpaper or fabric, but it could be fourth option as well. So for this purpose you can simply add another sub entity named as other. So we have talked about this. So correctly identifying subtypes. When modeling supertypes and subtypes, you can use three questions to see if the subtype is correctly identified. Is this subtype a kind of supertype? This is very important, right? Like for a student, undergraduate student or postgraduate student, it's some sort of a kind of category, type of student. You cannot make a super entity in which you are adding student and cars, because they are not of same kind, okay? So this is very important, that you have to ask this thing, that is this subtype a kind of supertype? And then you have to, second thing important is exhaustiveness. Have I covered all possible cases? If I am making some supertype, would be any their case that couldn't be part of any subtype, then you have to add other category or other subtype, exhaustive. Does each instance fit into one and only one subtype? Mutually exclusive, okay? So this is also very important. So snow sport, here is snow sport is one supertype in which we have subtypes, skiing or snowboard or cross country, but you are putting another subtype as other. Okay, we can skip this thing, it will only confused a bit, but even in a subtype, we can add more subtypes. Okay, so this is sort of nested subtypes, but usually only two levels. Okay, supertypes and subtypes, and maximum that subtype would contain mazid subtypes. Okay, but for simplicity, we can ignore this thing. That's fine. We can represent our system with one super type and only one level of that super type as a different subtypes. So if you have any question, you can ask. We have 5 minutes. So here is only one small example of databases sort of thing. Remember, if this is many-to-many relationship, right? If we want to convert this diagram into an actual database, so this would be one table of student, right? And this would be one other table of subject. So let's suppose I have student table, okay, and obviously attributes would be ID. This would be a primary key, first name, and then last name. And let's suppose I have one instance of that student is, let's suppose first name is John, right? So similarly, there is another table in the database. It would be subjects. It would be students. Okay. So in subject, I have ID and name, and let's suppose MS218 is the ID of this subject, which is database technologies. So obviously we cannot store other information if we are not resolving many-to-many relationships. We cannot store grades here of this particular student John, right? That's why we need to break this many-to-many relationship into a third entity, which would be enrollment. Enrollments, okay. And remember, I told you that the primary keys of these two entities would be part of this table or this entity as well, okay. So obviously we can say that some enrollment ID as a primary key of this, and then student ID, and then subject ID. Okay, I can't write more. I can write here. Subject ID, there is another attribute, student ID, subject ID, and let's suppose this is grade. Now I can, in database, I can simply say, okay, subject ID was MS218, enrollment ID is auto-generated, let's say 1. Subject student ID is 1. This one is coming from here, right? So I am linking this student ID with this one, and then I can say that he got A grade. You can obviously store some other attributes, enrollment semester and enrollment date, or some sort of other information that is related to the enrollment, but as a simple database, this is actual database. So now you can see you can easily link all of these three tables with each other. With simple SQL, you can easily find out other information. That's why you don't have to write John and all the information again and again in enrollment. For example, there is another course, MS216 networks, and so this is a third year course, so MS216. So here enrollment ID is 2, that's fine. Student ID is again 1, right? And let's suppose grade is B+. Simple, right? So because of this database, we have removed redundancy. We don't have to enter values again and again. We don't have to write all the 20 fields, last name, first name. Let's suppose another field is email ID and then PPS number or address, but we are only concerned with this ID and we are linking by this way. So now with SQL, we can simply add very simple SQL, we can join tables. So in this course, we will, obviously we would be learning SQL, and it's very easy to get data by joining these 3 tables. Okay, so this is actual database. So you can see there is no redundancy, right? No redundancy, and updation is very easy. For example, if John says no, my last name is not empty, it has some name, I have some name, and might be it's a typing mistake, it could be spelling mistake. It's very easy to update only this last name field here. Okay, we don't need anything to change in enrollments in other stuff because we only have one entry of this John. Okay, so that's why in DBMS this updation is very easy. Instead of in Excel or in some even manual system, you can see it's very difficult. Okay, so redundancy is no redundancy, and by this way we can link different tables. If you have any question about this diagram, you can ask. So by right, these are the 3 tables that we are going to make after in the 3rd stage, but you must have some idea that how entities would be mapped to some tables, and obviously these relations or tables would have tuples, right? This is one tuple. So you can see here I have added only one information, one-time information of database technologies, right? And now I can simply add hundreds of students who are taking database technologies, and I can add grade and some other information. Okay, so if you have no question, thank you very much.